Hello, my friends. It's Valerie from Sure Scrap Slot here with your tip a day in May for May 9th, which is Monday. I just have come back from a wonderful scrapbooking retreat in Canmore and I'm feeling all refreshed and ready to go. I thought I would talk to you today about adding height to your sentiments. All right, this applies to both scrapbooking and card making, but I think you'll find that these tips will be especially useful in your card making. So I've chosen two different sentiments. I've gone back into my oldie but goodies and picked out my thanks thin cut and cut out a bright blue for that. And then I found in my Slimline Alphabet Thin Cuts, YOU, and I just picked that one because they were all different letters and they were easy to work with. So I wanted to show you just a couple of different things. First off, when you're dealing with sentiments, sometimes attaching them can be a little bit frustrating because especially when you have something like this that's so tiny. So I'm going to show you one trick that I have up my sleeve for that. But you can also use a white glue like this. All right. And I'm just going to move this all out of the way for a moment. I'm going to bring this in a little bit. All right. And when you are putting your adhesive, your liquid glue on here, okay, I'm going to show you this. Talk about this in just a moment. You don't need to cover every single bit of the space on here. Okay, actually, I want to make that just a little bit closer. Okay, so what I do, this one's almost empty, so I have to really shake it down, is I just gently squeeze and I put little dots of glue along. And I tend to go with where my sentiment changes directions or ends. Okay, so it's just as simple as that. You can do exactly the same thing with your liquid glass or your glossy essential, just a minute. What is that called? Glossy Essentials, I think it's called. I don't have a bottle of that anymore. So I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I think it's Glossy Essentials. Okay, and your life will be a lot easier if you add the fine tip applicator to it. It is indeed very, very fine. Okay, and I have a little tip about that too, but I just want to finish what I'm doing here before this glue dries. Okay, so I'm going to grab my tweezers and I'm going to attach it to this. Now, you probably can't tell from this angle, but this is not actually paper. This is fun foam. All right, and I've chosen a different color so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and it takes a little bit of maneuvering, but I like to use my tweezers to get these straight. Okay, and I'm just taking my tweezers and just putting it around both layers and then squeezing on the sides. And that helps to get them lined up. Now this one's going to be a little tricky because the little hole didn't cut there. So I have to use my ingenuity a little bit there. Now, if you feel like you're not going to be fast enough to get to the end of the word before all of your glue dries, you can just put your glue on half of the word. You see how using your tweezers just lines everything up so nicely. I'm afraid some of my glue is drying here. That's okay because I know you're going to get the idea here. My A is a little bit tricky because it's not a closed shape, it's open. Okay, very good. Let's see, that glue dried. All right. Now I'm going to get to the end. I'm going to see if any of it's stuck. If not, we'll go back. Okay, so now the fun foam, while I'm doing this, actually can cut down on your work a little bit and the amount of cardstock that you're using. It goes through your die cutting machine. Well, I have a Big Shot and a Vagabond, and it works great through both. I do tend to run it through 2 times just to make sure, especially on my Big Shot. Okay. All right, so it actually did stick. And I used this different color because I wanted you to see the whole process. And there's a couple spots here that the glue did not stick all the way, but that's okay. I'm all right. This is just a sample. Now you can see here where the background is showing just a little bit. You can take your fussy cut scissors and trim that off if you want, but I kind of like it when you can see a little bit of the background. All right, it just gives it a little more flavor. All right, now instead of using 5 layers of cardstock, I've used 1 layer of fun foam. Okay, and so it really cuts down on the amount of time you spend working on this on 1 sentiment, also the amount of cardstock you're using. Okay, so that's one thing. Now I wanted to talk to you about your liquid glass. All right, I came across this idea from another consultant. So thank you, Trina. So one of the problems with using these fine tip applicators is that this glue is so thick that it's hard to get it to come out this very, very fine tip. So just let me grab my cloth. That's very interesting from this angle. Yeah, I just want to wipe this clean. All right. And I just want to show you with my Y here that I already have. I've layered all 5 of my layers of cardstock, and I did it in red intentionally, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And I'm just going to add, oops, oh man, talking too much. There. All right, and you can see how the liquid glass is flowing just fine from this. Now, one thing that I do every time is I just tap it to get the liquid up, down from the tip, and then I put my lid on again right away. The secret is this. Are you ready? Okay, write it down because you don't want to forget this. It's a life changer. Let me tell you, if you like to use liquid glass, what you're going to do is you're going to open the bottle. You're going to take the lid off, and you're going to pour about 1/4 teaspoon of water into the bottle. Okay, so what you want to do, this is how it comes with this kind of a lid. Okay, and then you just want to work this off, this part off. It does come off. Okay, I'm not going to do it here, but it does come off. All right, you just have to put the end of your tweezers in there or your fingernail if it's strong enough, and then you can just work it out. You want to add in about 1/4 teaspoon of water. It's not like an exact science. Then you're going to just very gently rock it back and forth. You don't want to shake this glue because it just gets air in it and then causes bubbles. So you're just going to shake it back and forth like this, you know, maybe 10 times. All right, and that's all you need to do. Put your lid back on and you're in business. Okay, it just needs to be thinned out a little bit, and it is a water-based glue. So adding a little bit of water to it works just great. Now you'll notice that I used exactly the same method as I did with my white glue. Okay, just little dots. All right, now I've given this letter a different color background than top. And I did that on purpose because when you put this on your card, so let me see if I can show you this. I'm just going to attach this. Normally you wouldn't be putting white on white, but this is just for demonstration purposes. All right, so from the side, you can actually see the lining of the red. Okay, and what else is really cool is that if you want, before you attach the top color, you can take your ink and a sponge dauber, and you can ink to get rid of the white core. So if you use Close to My Heart cardstock, then you know it's all white core except for our special black. Okay, so then this is finished now. Okay, where's my white hue? Right here. Okay, I'm just going to quickly add that. And then I have one more tip for you. Now, sometimes the cardstock will stretch, especially if you are cutting more than one. Very stubborn. Cutting more than one layer of cardstock at a time. The paper will stretch a little bit on the bottom layer. I don't know why this one's being so hard to get along with here. I guess you want to see what I'm doing too, right? Okay, and you can see here that that is the case with this U. You can see how the tips are just slightly longer than the for the red than the white, because they were all, well, not all of them, but most of them were like lower layers, so they stretched a little bit more. So I just trim them. All right, so that is lots of layers, okay, and fun foam. I have one more thing I want to show you, and I stuck with my U because it's nice that it's just 3 letters. Okay, so now for this one, it works exactly the same as these ones, except you don't need to use liquid glue with them. Okay, what I used were my sheets of Score. Look like this. Okay, this is the one that I've been using. Okay, and you can see the size of the cardstock that I cut out. I got 5 sets out of this one piece for you, for the word you. So when you're, this is just one brand, but you just peel this away, and it's a double-sided tape. All right, so you just put your cardstock down, pull this back, put your cardstock down, and then you need to burnish it really, really well. Then you run it through your machine, and what you end up with is this on the back. All right, so this is how it looks on the front, exactly the same, but on the back, you've got adhesive. All right, so I've already started, or I did my O. All right, you can see how nicely that all went together. And then my last layer on the bottom has the adhesive still stuck to it. So I just peel that off. Okay, and then we're just going to add this to our Y right here. Okay. Easy peasy. All right, so I'll just show you a couple of layers here. Okay, where did my, where the rest of my Y's went, but anyhow, all right, so we're going to start by peeling off one layer, and we're going to add it to the next layer, and I'm going to start this way just because it's easier to handle. Okay, now the thing with using this type of adhesive is it's not as movable as your liquid, so you want to make sure you're not pushing down to Really stick the layers together until you have them where you want them. So with your tweezers, bring that camera back in a bit again. You want to just line them all up nicely. Once you have them where you want them, press down. Okay, so that's 2. Here's another one. All right, so we're just going to lay it down where we want it. And I'm not pressing on the top. Okay, I'm just trying to line it up a little bit. Now, if you do end up with a little bit sticking out where you don't want it, just trim it off with your scissors. Easy, easy, easy. So you see, I put my finger down on that one. Okay. So that is just so simple. And I didn't, now it's really crooked. There, it's a bit better. And we'll do one more. I think that's only 4, but that's okay. You get the idea. And again, if you want, you can use your sponge dauber and you can ink the sides of these to get rid of the white core. That one is really throwing everything off now, but I think I'm okay with that. All right. Now the bottom layer, we pull that off. And we just add it on. That. So simple. All right. Really, really helps to bring the message forward. All right. So that is it for today. I hope that you have picked up something new to try or to use. Don't forget about your liquid glass trick. And I will be back tomorrow with another tip for you for our tip a day in May for May 11th. And no, pardon me, May 10th. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Thank you very much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.